Some stories don't want to be finished. They want to be remembered, and they'll use anyone to make sure they're heard. Stories that touch the soul stay with us forever. If you want more of these stories in your life, become a part of our cozy world. Subscribe to Velvet and Vice and gift yourself more sensual journeys in the videos to come. Elara was a historian of the mundane, a woman who found comfort in the dust of forgotten archives. Her world was one of quiet certainty, cataloging the artifacts of ordinary lives in a city that prized progress over the past. This changed when a mysterious package arrived, bearing no return address. Inside, nestled in yellowed tissue paper, was a book bound in what felt like living wood, its cover blank and smooth. A single note accompanied it. Some stories are not written, they are remembered. The book, she soon discovered, was empty, but when she placed her hand upon its cover, the room would dissolve and she would be plunged into a memory that was not her own. She felt the coarse wool of a soldier's uniform on her skin, the bitter cold of a trench, the sharp pang of a first love. The book was a vessel, a repository of lost moments, and it was starving. It fed on her own emotional energy, leaving her physically drained after each vision. Desperate for answers, she tracked the book's origin to a small, fog-shrouded coastal town named Havenwood. The town was a place out of time, where whispers of old magic still clung to the salt-laden air. There, she sought out Kaelen, the last in a line of bookbinders and lore-keepers, a man as guarded and enigmatic as the book itself. Their first meeting was a clash of worlds. Elara, with her academic precision, demanded logical explanations. Kaelen, with eyes the color of a stormy sea, spoke of ancestral duty, soul ink, and stories that refused to die. He believed the book, known as an Echo-Grimoire, was unstable, a record of a life cut tragically short, and that its unfulfilled narrative was causing a tear in the fabric of local memory, making the town's history literally unravel. Their investigation became a journey through the town's collective unconscious. They would find a locket in an antique shop, and the book would show them the night it was given. They would stand on a crumbling pier, and a vision of a joyful festival would overlay the decaying wood. The central figure in all these memories was a vibrant young artist named Isolde, who had vanished decades ago during a great storm. As they pieced together Isolde's story, her passion, her secret romance with a man from a feuding family, her dream of painting the true heart of Havenwood, Elara and Kaelen found their own walls crumbling. He taught her to listen to the whispers of the old forests and to read the stories told by the tide lines on the shore. She showed him that history was not just dates, but the breath and blood of people, that a single life could ripple through time. Their initial frustration turned to a deep, resonant understanding, and then, inevitably, to love. The final memory was the most powerful and dangerous, the night of the storm. The book showed them Isolde not as a victim, but as a heroine, risking her life to secure the town's fishing fleet, saving countless families, but being swept away herself. Her story wasn't about a tragic end. It was about a profound, selfless act. The Echo-Grimoire hadn't been seeking an ending. It had been seeking a witness to its truth. To complete the narrative and stabilize the book, they had to perform a binding, a ritual where they would channel the completed story back into the grimoire using their own emotional connection to it and to each other. As a supernatural gale whipped around Kaelen's ancient workshop, they held the book between them, their hands overlapping on its cover. Elara poured all her empathy for Isolde's sacrifice into it, while Kaelen wove his ancestral magic, stitching the story back into the town's memory. The book glowed with a soft, golden light, and on its once blank cover, the image of Isolde's final, unfinished painting bloomed into existence. Not a portrait of a person, but of the town itself, alive and connected, its heart beating strong. The storm outside ceased. The book was now warm and quiet, its hunger sated, its story whole. In the epilogue, Elara didn't return to her old life. She and Kaelen turned his workshop into a living archive, a place where the stories of Havenwood were not just stored, but celebrated. The Echo-Grimoire sat on a central pedestal, no longer whispering of loss, but silently radiating a tale of courage and love. Elara had finally found a history that was alive, and in doing so, had written her own. Stories that touch the soul stay with us forever. If you want more of these stories in your life, become a part of our cozy world. Subscribe to Velvet and Vice and gift yourself more sensual journeys in the videos to come. 1 year had passed since the binding. The workshop in Havenwood had become a sanctuary, a place where the past and present coexisted in gentle harmony. The Echo-Grimoire, now displaying Isolde's painting of the town's heart on its cover, sat silent and content. Elara had woven herself into the fabric of Havenwood, her love with Kaelen a steady, grounding force. They believed their work with the grimoire was complete. The tranquility shattered on a blustery autumn night. A frantic knocking came at their door. It was Liam, the young owner of the local inn. His daughter, Sienna, a bright and curious child, had been sleepwalking, speaking in fragments of old sailors' songs and describing places that had been demolished generations ago. In her hand, she clutched a small, tarnished silver whistle she claimed a lady with seafoam hair had given her in a dream. Suspicion fell immediately on the grimoire, but it was dormant. The disturbance, they realized, wasn't coming from within the book, but from around it. The successful binding of Isolde's powerful story had acted like a beacon, strengthening the town's latent memory field. Other unbound echoes, fragments of lives and stories not strong enough to form their own grimoire, were now drawn to its stability, using Sienna's innate childhood sensitivity as a conduit. Their investigation led them not to a person, but to a shipwreck, the Sea Serpent, Isolde's lost love's vessel, which had sunk years before her own disappearance. The echoes were a chaotic chorus of the crew's final moments, their fear, and their unfulfilled duty to deliver a vital message. The central echo belonged to Alaric, Isolde's beloved. His spirit was not at rest, bound by a promise he failed to keep. The message was a warning to Isolde about an impending betrayal from within the town council, a plot to sell off the town's sacred coastal lands. His ship was sabotaged to prevent this warning from ever reaching her. This revelation recontextualized everything. Isolde's fate was not just a random tragedy, it was the consequence of that silenced truth. The true heart of Havenwood she wanted to paint was its integrity, which was being poisoned by greed even then. To quiet the echoes, they had to complete Alaric's mission. Using a combination of Kaelen's magic and Elara's historical skills, they pieced together the evidence from the spectral memories, a name, a hidden ledger, a location. They presented their findings to the modern town council, exposing the century-old conspiracy and clearing the names of both Isolde and Alaric, who had been wrongly labeled as reckless fools. That night, at the shore near the shipwreck's reef, Sienna, guided by Elara and Kaelen, blew the silver whistle. A profound silence fell, followed not by a vision, but by a feeling of immense release. The air itself felt lighter. Alaric's echo, his duty finally fulfilled, dissipated into peace. In the days that followed, a new, fainter image appeared on the back cover of the Echo-Grimoire, the silhouette of a ship sailing peacefully into a golden horizon, alongside Isolde's painting. The book had grown, incorporating this new, completed chapter. Elara and Kaelen understood now that their work was not merely restorative, it was protective. The grimoire was a living heart for Havenwood, and they were its guardians. There were other stories slumbering in the town's soil and sea, and some, they knew, might be darker and more dangerous than a lost love or a failed message. Their quiet life was over. Their purpose had just truly begun.